This is Beyond the Bench with Nick Morgasen and Nick Fodera. A look at sports and pop culture from beyond common sense. The show that constantly goes off the rails and might never get back on. When you don't belong, you're a bench warmer. On this show, there's no riding the bench. This is Beyond the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Beyond the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, presented by Knack Bags. That's Nick Fodera. I'm Nick Morgasen. And even with one bad ear, Nick still survives.
You're going to have to speak a little bit louder because I can't really hear you out of this one. You might want to try this one.
I mean, I could try and test your ears, but then you'll just get mad at me.
Oh, yes, but you know what? A deaf podcast is like a blind race car driver. It's kind of impossible to do, but we're going to try it anyway.
So follow us on social media. We do this every week. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us
on Instagram.
Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network. So, Nick, there's a lot of great stories this week. Well, we're going to lead off with an unfortunate story, but we'll get to that in a second.
But before we do anything, this episode, as is sponsored, of course, by our wonderful sponsors at Knack Bags. As my co-host, Mr. Morgasen, is demonstrating, the Knack Bag is the sleek accessory that everybody needs to have for the summer season. You can get your Knack Sling bag, as you saw on the ad at the front of the episode. You can go to knackbags.com and pre-order your Knack Sling bag, and you get free shipping. Because when people need to get somewhere, don't you want it shipped free?
You do. And what type of life is it, Nick?
It's a one-bag life.
Okay. So, excuse me. We have a lot to get to. July 4th. Hopefully you had a good July 4th. Unfortunately, some people did not have a good July 4th. We will get to that. We have an update on Brittney Griner talking to President Biden, which that case just seems to be getting stranger and stranger and stranger. Elon Musk apparently has secret twins that we didn't know about.
No, not evil. No, not twins of him. He's just fathered a pair of twins.
God, if we had clones of Elon Musk, this world would be in trouble.
Yeah, it's evil twin Elon Musk.
I mean, can you imagine what would be worse, clones of him or clones of us?
Well, first of all, I know I could probably take my own fat ass in a fight. I don't know if I could take. I don't know if I could take your. I don't know if I could take two of you in a fight.
Well, no, I would just talk you down to death, and then you would just die of. That's scary. I don't even know if I want to hear myself talk.
So, which one of you is begging to be shot?
That's a good point. Also, The Rock gets paid how much per Instagram post? This one I found quite interesting, and some of the big names in Instagram, big name celebrities, I should say, on Instagram get paid a lot of money just to put out a post as a sponsor post. Also, unfortunately, Nick, I broke the rule again this week, and you'll find out a little bit later why. Adele cancels her Las Vegas shows again, and it's not for your typical, I don't know if I want to say mental health reason, but we'll get to that one. Also, a TikTok trend causes movie theaters to kick people out, teenagers, for wearing suits due to a trend about the Minions. Also, and some of these were great stories by Sarah, our intern, as well. An entitled mother insists that her son shares a Nintendo Switch. Well, a friend shares a Nintendo Switch with her child to get through a flight. Now, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts about that. And then just some other stories. Man caught putting a certain substance in a woman's drink.
What kind of substance it is, I guarantee you've probably guessed which one it is, and it ain't pleasant.
And also, a famous Dodgers peanut vendor has been banned from throwing peanuts over safety concerns.
So, you know what? Let's start. Let's not waste any more time. We've got a lot to get through, so let's get to it.
So, unfortunately, we have to start in the news sector. And it starts on July 4th. Now, I don't get this. This is very confusing to me. It seems like on holidays, people are supposed to be festive. People are supposed to be having a good time. It's the birth of America, and we have a shooting.
Well, that just seems to be what we are now. In the wake of what happened in Uvalde a couple weeks ago, in the wake of what happened in Buffalo, and so many mass shootings you can't even name. The one thing you always hear, or you tended to hear, was this is not who we are. You know what? I'm starting to think that this is kind of who we are now, because the fact that we just went through high school kids getting blown away by a maniac with a high-powered rifle, only to a couple weeks later had the exact same thing happen in a different location on the 4th of July. Now, I don't actually have the impulse nor the compunction to name the perpetrator, but this was in Highland Park, Illinois, which is a very wealthy suburb of Chicago. Majority Jewish, population there. So that might have factored into what that loser did. But yeah,
well, there's some other bizarre things about this. First of all, he dressed up as a woman.
He dressed up as a woman to try to evade the cops.
And then the other one, and I said this to Nick the other day.
And he covered up his tattoos, of course, because a white supremacist has to have tattoos.
Right, but I was going to say the other weird thing was he went like very movie FBI and scaled the side of a building on a ladder.
Yeah, and he was basically shooting at the parade below him.
They said it was like
with a high-powered rifle.
They said it was like 60 or 70 rounds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was about 60 or 70 rounds, according to the police reports there. How he got that kind of ammunition, and apparently his father
sponsored
sponsored him, even though he'd had 2 separate mental health crisis interventions over the past couple of years.
Well,
one in which he threatened to kill people.
His own family. It was in his house.
Yeah, in his own family. And apparently his father, thank you, Sarah, she said she's had the trouble with the police twice in 2019 alone. So his father was actually a candidate for mayor of Highland Park.
That's a little scary. But my point is, so the father sponsored his what do they call it? Gun permit or CCW, I guess.
Yes.
And basically that allowed him to get the guns, the weapons, the ammunition, and Nick and I are gonna say this until we're blue in the face, okay? Why are we waiting?
You need to buy these weapons.
Oh, I wasn't gonna say that, but I agree with that. But where is this red flag law?
Where is this red flag law, even though it was flagged twice in 2019 and no one picked up on it? So
and
somebody would have had to screw up big time to not catch that.
And I'm tired of the police who are coming out and talking to the media and saying, well, we couldn't do anything, blah, 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 blah. Yes, you could. You need to do something. You need to stop the attacks.
You need to do more than you're doing.
I mean, I saw a report, I think, the other day where they were talking to some of the cops from Uvalde, where they were saying that they were waiting outside and they had to wait for a report.
Apparently, one of the police sharpshooters had clocked the shooter coming into the school before he'd gotten in, have it with his weapon out.
But they weren't allowed to do anything.
Had him in his sights and thought to ask for permission. Thought he had to ask for permission.
Why?
The one time you get to be the action hero you seem to crave.
All right, forget. Wait a minute. Forget about being a hero. My point is, he had him in straight range, and he thought asking permission was the brilliant thing.
Look, if anything, this is shown, and Uvalde is shown, that the good guy with the gun myth is really just that. It's just a myth. Because it really does seem like the good guys with the guns are getting their asses kicked.
But there's also another part of this story.
Or they're not even trying to save us.
There's another part of this story also. So after he committed the shooting, and by the way, I think there was a 2-year-old orphan who came out of this also because
unfortunately and tragically, Both parents died, and the kid was wandering alone,
Yeah, well, sitting in the pool of blood of the father.
sitting in the.
Now,
Yeah.
which I cringed when I felt bad for the woman who found the kid and had to try to
Save the kid's life.
and the kid kept asking, "Are my parents okay?" Like, I that's a tough spot to be in.
Like I said, you hear those things, and it's like, it's not that this is not who we are. This is who we are, but it shouldn't be.
Well, there's another part
It
of
shouldn't be.
there's another part of the story as well. Did you know that once he got in a car after the attack and he drove to Madison, Wisconsin, and he was going to go shoot up another July 4th celebration reportedly.
Later, right after he had done it?
Yes. But he chose not to because he apparently didn't research the area.
And apparently he had designs on shooting up a synagogue.
Oh, I don't know about that. I just know he was going.
But whatever you want to talk about it with his motivations, whether he was just a nihilist, a meme quoting nihilist who just believed in violence, and there's definitely something, even if you don't want to admit it, there's definitely something racial involved in this, because the kid was clearly a fucking loser.
Well, he had mental health problems.
He was clearly a fucking loser.
Well, it's hard to call someone a loser. First of all, you got to be careful because, again, you don't know what his mental health state was. Don't get me wrong.
No, then you get mental health, not a
gun. No, I agree. I'm saying, don't get me wrong. Everything he did was wrong. In every way, shape, or form, what he did was wrong. But you don't know his mental health state. We have a mental health crisis in this country. Okay? So ever since COVID started, we had a mental health crisis. Would you agree?
Yes.
Because people don't know how to deal with this situation. Us included. I'm sure we've had situations where
I've never threatened or even thought about shooting up a shooting up a crowded supermarket.
No. That's not my point. My point is that it was a tough situation being stuck in our houses for months upon months, not being able to go anywhere. That's my point. Like, now, I don't blame that on this.
But that's kind of what I mean when I say he's a loser, in that he is not necessarily, he's not a loser per se. He was an outcast.
Right, and they said the same thing about the Uvalde shooter.
He felt like he didn't fit in, and he felt like the only way he couldn't fix whatever was wrong, so he just decided to take it out on everybody.
Right, but they said the same thing about the Uvalde shooter. He got the guns when he was 18 years old, and he was basically a high school dropout.
So I should rephrase. He's not a loser, but he's still a maniac.
He needs help, or needed help.
The kid still needed help. And we are in a situation, I think, in this situation at least, I mean, the father and the family, by extension, well, whoever was involved, should be held just as culpable for this as he is.
Well, yes, duh. I mean, if he sponsored...
Because we usually, in these mass shooter situations, we usually get quotes from the parents, and it's like, I never thought he would do something like this.
They did. He did an exclusive interview with GMA.
Yeah, he did. And the fact that he could just throw his hands up and say, I didn't know, when it's clearly you allowed this to happen.
Okay, but the one difference is he sponsored the CCW.
Exactly, which is why he needs to be held to more account than you would normally see.
But the problem is, how do you prove? Because he apparently told GMA that he thought he was sponsoring the CCW so he could go to a gun range and do target practice. Apparently,
with what you know your son does, and how he is and how he acts, with two different run-ins with mental health, and with the police and having mental health issues your entire life. What kind of father are you that you're blind to that?
No, I agree with you, but I'm saying he could basically say, I thought he was going to...
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what he was going to do.
But Nick, you've said this to me before many times, even in the sports world when we talk about crimes. The people will use any excuse to get out of a crime. Right?
They will, but I just look, in the absence of any kind of meaningful progress, trying to fix this problem in the US, we will cling to whatever straws we have, whatever measure of justice we can get.
They went after the Uvalde parents.
But
Do you remember?
Like I said, in this case, that's pretty much all we've got.
But wait a minute. Do you remember they went after the Uvalde parents as well? They were involved.
You mean the parents of the shooter?
The shooter, I meant. Yes. They went after those parents because they said that they were directly involved.
Well, apparently he shot his grandmother, and his grandfather doesn't live with the family.
Okay,
so the Uvalde shooter was a different story, though.
Okay, but if a kid that age is getting guns and shooting up schools, it has to come from somewhere. So that means it has to come from the family, the attitude or the ammunition. Sorry for choice of word, to do something.
Yeah,
that's my point.
No, you're right.
And I'm tired of like every holiday now that we're talking about like some kind of shooting happening and some kind of ridiculous thing on the streets happening because some person with mental health issues is not getting the proper help they need,
and allowing access to guns where they can get it, because
that's a federal issue. That's not necessarily a local issue. That has to do with the red flag laws that you said has been gaining dust.
You really need to ban assault style weapons.
It's not going to happen. You're gonna have what's it called? Second Amendment.
Second Amendment, even though the Second Amendment doesn't actually mean that. Even though that's not actually what the Second Amendment guarantees, but I guarantee you, people who keep citing the Second Amendment don't actually have any idea what it actually means.
And what's the name of the organization again? They'll go after
it.
The NRA will try and the NRA has sued for every time they try to bring a type of law to the table to do this because it's violating my free rights as a Second Amendment citizen.
My Second Amendment rights as an American citizen. You know what? If it's a well-regulated militia you want, get training.
Well, think about what happened on January 6th. It's the same thing. People showed up all because of a response to an attack. Let's just put it this way. There's no win. And now, like every time there's a holiday, now we have to be afraid that there's going to be an attack somewhere in this country because people can't control themselves.
But that's precisely what I mean. It's disingenuous to say this is not who we are when this keeps happening. This is who we are, but it shouldn't be.
All right. Let's move on. Another top headline this week. Brittney Griner sends letter to President Joe Biden asking for release from Russian detainment, and she ended up, and the update was she pled guilty to the charges, which could lead to a maximum 10-year sentence in a Russian jail.
So this story is the story that will not end, along with the Deshaun Watson saga in Cleveland. Is the one I think we've covered the most in recent days. Here on the ETB Podcast Network. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it's nice to, you sent her a letter, you spoke to her, now get her out.
Yeah, well, the issue you have going on here is the U.S. government is taking its time to do anything here.
Yeah, because, again, they always take their sweet-ass time with everything.
We talked about this last week. I don't know if you remember, where she was supposed to have a call with her wife on her anniversary, and the U.S. Embassy in Russia completely screwed it up.
Yeah, we talked about that, as a matter of fact.
And, by the way, that's the U.S. government's fault. I don't want to hear shit.
That's definitely the U.S. government's fault. But you know what? I hope that they can get her out before she actually has to serve any of that. Because
the weird thing is, and I saw a tweet about this, and I thought someone was actually right for a change. I can't believe I'm actually agreeing with social media. Someone wrote that if this is LeBron James, he would have been out of confinement already.
Absolutely.
And I agree. LeBron James holds more power. I hate to say it. I don't agree with it.
Especially the WNBA. You know, we can blame Brittney Griner for going there all you want.
Well, wait a minute. It has nothing to do with her going there. It has to do with that you need to be smarter.
Let me finish, though.
Okay.
you can blame her all you want, but she wouldn't be there if the average WNBA salary was not 2.2% of the NBA league minimum. She
Yeah,
wouldn't be working overseas.
Yeah, but Nick, she's making $220,000 a year. That's more than an average salary in the U.S.
It's more than an average salary, but compared to the work she does, if you compare it to the NBA,
Oh no,
the workload.
I've said this many times, and I said it, and I will stand by it.
If she paid more, they wouldn't even have been in Russia. I've said that before.
Right, but she's technically the highest paid female.
And what does it tell you when the highest paid player in the WNBA still has to do off-season stuff to make ends meet?
But wait a minute. First of all, I wouldn't call it ends meet. $220,000 is a lot of money, Nick. You and I would kill to make $220,000 a year.
I'm not a professional athlete.
No, you're missing my point. If you were making $220,000 a year, would you be going all around the world to make more money? I wouldn't.
Again, I don't know what her lifestyle is like. I don't know what she spends money on.
And unfortunately, we see this with athletes all the time.
And the argument is not for her to be more thrifty. I mean,
the
argument is to get her the fuck out of there.
Right. And my point of what I was going to say is a lot of the athletes, and believe it or not, more male athletes are worse with their money than female athletes are. Believe it or not.
Yeah. And
I can think of a few. Allen Iverson, Antoine Walker. Antoine Walker, who was a Celtic for many years, made $180 million, and he bankrupted himself.
So you can't tell me this was a case of, I mean, it was clearly, a dumb move to bring hash oil with you knowing that they would.
And the cartridges.
But again, if she had been paid more, she wouldn't have been there. And
Nick,
she didn't deserve to be locked up for it.
Nick, what do you mean she needs to be paid more? $220,000 is a lot of money. What do you think the average salary in the U.S. is right now?
NBA league minimum. You don't see people making the NBA league.
All right, put the NBA aside for a second. I'm agreeing with you, but $220,000 in the U.S. is a fortune. It's in the top 1%.
No, well, not according to inflation. It's not.
Nick, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the top 1% is somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000 in the U.S. If you're making between $200,000 and $250,000, you are in the top 1%. So you're telling me that she's making ends meet at $220,000?
When you're living her lifestyle, I guess.
I mean, I agree with you. The rest of the WNBA is underpaid. I agree. That is an issue that needs to be fixed. I told you on the NBA benches, I think the league minimum is $500,000. I think, if I'm not mistaken. The WNBA, I don't know what the league minimum is, but it's definitely not $500,000. I can tell you that right now. So, but this is more of a political issue, not a money issue, because I think Russia also came out and said that they want one of their detainees out of the U.S. In exchange to give Brittney Griner back. Was that correct?
Yeah.
So,
but now you need to do the right thing. But
what's the term you came up with? Political football was the term you came up with?
They're using her as a political prop.
So, but I've said this to you many times, that out of this country, the laws are much stricter. Much stricter.
I know. We're basically rehashing the same points we've made already.
No, but some people are saying
this situation continues to drag on.
But some people say, oh, well, she's a U.S. citizen, blah, 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 just let her go. Well, when you're in a foreign country and you break the law. They
don't give a shit.
Right. The stories I've heard, and I told this, and I'll say it again for people who didn't hear it last time. In Singapore, where my dad used to travel back and forth for work, the signs in the airport say, do you want to know what the penalty for drug trafficking is?
Death.
So don't do it. Singapore and Israel are the safest airports in the world.
She wasn't drug trafficking, though.
I'm not saying she was drug trafficking, but according to them, that's drug trafficking in their country. That's my point. I'm not saying you're wrong. She should. They are unwillingly holding her. Okay. What did the president say? That it was basically a entrapment almost, or no?
Yeah, it isn't. Yeah, it is. Yeah, he did say that.
So, Sarah said, in a way, it reminds you of the American who was arrested in North Korea. Yes.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Otto Warmbier was his name.
That was a journalist, I think, right?
I don't remember.
I think he was a journalist, if I'm not mistaken, who was writing things within the country, I think, and that's another problem in the outside countries. Journalism is not freedom of speech outside of this country.
He was just a college student, but
was he a college student?
Yeah.
But that's another issue too. You can't do that either. Oh, didn't he disrespect the poster? Yeah, I kind of remember that too.
He did something with a North Korean flag.
Well, yeah. What did you think was going to happen if he did that in that country?
Didn't make it right.
No, I didn't say it was making it right. But when you break the laws and they're not a freedom of speech country like we are, you're asking for trouble. All right, let's move away from some of the politics. Speaking of secrets, Elon Musk had twins with one of his top executives. I don't know how to react to this story. Do you?
In as much as we're giving this man not we personally, but we as a society are giving Elon Musk more attention than I think he deserves. Because to be honest with you, this doesn't surprise me in the slightest, because the man has 9 kids. Plus, he's got a lot of weird ideas about repopulating the globe.
Oh, did you see the tweet?
Yeah.
So if you didn't see the tweet, it said, doing my best to help the underpopulation crisis. A collapsing birth rate is the biggest danger civilization faces by far.
Which, by the way, it was with a Neuralink executive.
That's one of his companies.
Is the mother of his twins. So, Neuralink is a company owned by Tesla. So
it's a brain chip company, ironically.
Yeah, putting microchips in brains, because apparently he got everything. Elon Musk learned everything he needed to learn about science from bad science fiction movies in the 1980s.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Does that really surprise you?
No, not in the slightest. But isn't that kind of a breach of ethics if you're doing that?
This man is a huge breach of ethics.
He's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
He's a breath of fresh air.
Breath, whatever it is. My point is,
he is an ethical breach unto himself.
Well, unethical. But yes, this man is unethical. He had a deal to buy Twitter, and now he's trying to back out of it.
And that was, because I feel like the whole Twitter thing was a big sleight of hand. I really do.
Wait a minute. The story is saying there's speculation that Elon might pick her to run Twitter if the deal is done.
Oh, great.
Do we even know? God, I feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone.
This is just something that I'll never understand. I'll never understand. I'll never understand that man. I'll never understand why people like him so much.
By the way, did you see the weird story that it was reported that Elon and 4 of his kids recently met Pope Francis at the Vatican?
Yeah.
Yeah, that man needs a lot of religion.
But then again, I'm surprised if he touched the Pope, his hand didn't sizzle. Ah!
That's a good point, actually. I don't know.
But I'll never understand this man, because I'll never understand the appeal he has with people. Just that he's rich and he likes to shitpost?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Give me a lot of money. I'll do that for you.
Well, I don't know if you would do it the way he's doing some of it, but
believe me, I could tweet a whole lot smarter than Elon Musk, because, oh my God.
Was he the one that tried to name his kid after a scientific equation?
He did name his kid after a scientific equation.
Well, I thought they weren't allowed to, though.
No, he did do that.
God. This man is almost as dumb as a box of rocks. I don't know. How do you do? This guy is FU money. That's basically what this is, right?
Yeah, that's essentially what this is. I mean, it's nobody cares about ethics of the company anyway. So I'm just going to do what I want, even though Tesla has basically become a floating joke because
So
their cars don't work for shit. Their trucks are ugly.
don't they explode? Apparently,
Yeah.
also.
Their trucks are butt ugly. Their cars explode, and all the robot projects they're working on are just vaporware.
Well, wait a minute.
The
I guess
Hyperloop will never get fixed.
see, he's one step away from Kanye. Now he's got to run for president.
But they think he's Reed Richards, but he ends up being Dr. Doom. And you don't want, and believe me, I'd much rather have put my life in the hands of Reed Richards rather than Dr. Doom.
Wasn't it at one point it was Elon Musk versus Richard Branson to build the better rocket ship or whatever?
You know what? At least Richard Branson stays the fuck out of the headlines.
Well, Richard Branson's an idiot in his own rights.
He's an idiot in his own right, but a different kind of idiot.
I just don't get it. I mean, what's next? Like I said, is Elon Musk going to run for president?
He can't, technically, thank God.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. But can you imagine? I could see it in the headlines now. Elon Musk versus Kanye West. I could see that now. And I have if I can get over here, I have the perfect campaign music. See, it's perfect. It's perfect campaign music.
Moving on.
Let's move on. Let's move on to something a little bit more fun. Okay. Let's talk about The Rock. So, The Rock gets paid how much per Instagram post?
So, how much per Instagram post? Let's answer that question.
If I can pull my story up here, I was not prepared for that. Here we go. So, apparently, a lot of people get paid for sponsored Instagram posts that I didn't realize. By the way, this man is like worth a fucking fortune. Like, this man does everything. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let me see. So they list a bunch of names in comparison. So Cristiano Ronaldo, the big time soccer player, gets 2.39 million per post. Per sponsored post. Let me clear that up, first of all. So anytime they ask him to do a sponsored post, cha-ching, 2.39 million. Is that crazy?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the wrong racket. The fact that you could get paid almost $3 million just to post something on Instagram.
Well, a sponsored post.
A sponsored post. I just don't. I mean, and The Rock does sponsored posts. Can you pull up his Instagram page?
I can, but according to Hopper HQ, who did this story and a lot of this data, The Rock makes $1,712,000 per sponsored Instagram post.
And multiply that by how many, sponsored posts he does in a given month, maybe even a given week.
Yeah, but the one credit I'll give him, he doesn't do like shit sponsor posts like the Kardashians do, like where they just constantly post everything. You know what I mean? Where
it's like bikinis that no one can afford, or if they know people will buy it if their favorite celebrity likes something. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually, Sarah brought that up last week, which did the episode with us, that basically when they post anything, anyone's going to go out and buy it. It's not even a sponsored post. Sometimes they just post something of them wearing something, and people just like it and share it.
Even if it's something that the common person can't afford.
Well, that's a good point.
Like you never see celebrities doing Instagram posts drinking a Bud Light.
Well, yeah,
327 million followers on Instagram. Yeah, thank you again for the statistics, Sarah.
Yeah, he's got so many Instagram followers that even if he tweeted out, well, not tweeted out, if he Instagram posted,
that's almost the population of the United States. 327 million.
Well, you have to remember some are.
In fact, it might just be it's just a hair below.
But you have to remember, some of those are company accounts. Some of those are
company accounts. A lot of them are international. But again, that's still a staggering amount of money.
I mean, they even listed Beyonce.
And it's not that I don't understand it. I do understand the marketing and
It's
the
business.
logic behind it. I'm just jealous. You know what? I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm jealous.
You would be dangerous with 325 million Instagram followers.
You're telling me you wouldn't want that kind of
No,
power
of
to be
course
able to
I
be
would.
paid for every single thing you post on Instagram?
Well, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I mean, forget it. I mean, we were talking with Sarah before we did the show about Mr. Beast. And Mr. Beast has 20 million to 30 million subscribers on YouTube.
I mean, society has made it so that we cannot. It is a capitalistic society that we live in.
Nick,
And the society has twisted itself where we literally cannot exist. We must exist within that framework because no one wants to try anything different. But still, as long as that's the case, you get your bag.
Nick, we're trying to get our podcast network YouTube page up to the first 1,000 subscribers. That's
exactly.
And we're it's a tough business to be in. And by the way, go follow our YouTube channel.
Yeah, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel while we're talking.
YouTube.com/ETB network if you're looking for our YouTube channel.
It's an unfair game and it's stacked against guys like us. But you know what? That's the way it is.
But the point I was going to make earlier is there's only one other black celebrity on that so-called Instagram rich list. It's Beyonce. She comes in number 8 on the list, makes 1,392,000.
Which is weird because I would have thought that like somebody like Jay-Z or Dr. Dre,
Oprah,
or Oprah would have been on that list.
So she has, by the way, less followers than The Rock, 265 million followers, which I was surprised. I thought she would have more than The Rock, but what do I know about Instagram these days? But yes, there's sponsored posts. I'm surprised like the Kardashians didn't make this list. And they have a lot of followers, and all they do is sponsored posts. That's all they do. That's how they make their money. Well, unless you're Kylie Jenner and you have a lipstick, or not lipstick, lips growing business, or whatever you call it. I don't know what they call that anymore. But it is what it is. Apparently, Instagram makes you famous, and Instagram makes you a lot of money. But, all right, let's move on. Speaking of the Kardashians, yes, I broke the rule again, Nick. Here we go. So, Kourtney Kardashian calls out paparazzi amid Travis Barker's hospitalization, calling it a new level of low. Now, I saw this story, and I said I was going to ignore it, but then when I saw how much hypocrisy there was in this story, I couldn't let it go. I just couldn't. Because how did the Kardashians become famous?
It starts with a P. It starts with a P, and it's not peanut.
No. It starts with a P and it ends with an I. Paparazzi. And no, we're not talking about the song.
No, we're not talking about the song. So Travis Barker was recently hospitalized for a bad case of hepatitis. Was it hepatitis?
No, I have the story. It says he went for an endoscopy. So, pancreatitis.
Pancreatitis, which is nasty. I mean, I've had some family members that have been.
It's bad,
and it's very bad, especially if it gets really, really bad. You could be in some serious shit.
You're hospitalized.
Yeah. So thank God Travis Barker's on the mend.
So, yeah, go ahead.
So the paparazzi were managed to, I think, get snaps of him being carried away on the stretcher.
Yes. Which we said this last week. We've said this many times, okay? The paparazzi are not journalists. They're not journalists.
No, they're not journalists. They're vultures.
It's a big title.
They're just vultures with a camera just hanging around waiting for something interesting to happen and then actually making money or trying to make some money out of it. They actually don't care about what's news. It's just about, hey, what can I get? What can I capture with my camera?
And actually, they don't care if they even get sued.
Yeah, they're insane bug trappers. They really are.
You know what's funny though? I actually saw some paparazzi around here on Long Island. It was kind of funny, actually. I saw them like.
Must be there's somebody famous nearby.
And I was like, "Are you kidding?" And they were hiding behind bushes. Yeah, I'm not even kidding.
Up in the bushes or up in the tree or crouched down behind a car or something.
Sometimes I wish like
It's actually kind of ingenious the way they hide.
sometimes I wish like cars would come up and hit them for like doing what they do.
Sometimes that does happen, believe it or not.
Well, no. Well, they went after me. They hit me. They love that. They love when they get attacked because
Then they
then
can sue.
well, it's not even that. So they could do a story on it.
Yeah. So
I
mean, I understand that Kourtney Kardashian calling out the paparazzi for
it's funny.
invade for a new level of low. When I understand that's a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black. I understand that, but you know what? It's still kind of a shitty thing because there is some right to privacy, I think.
Right, but I'm reading the
Much in the same way that you can't go up to Kourtney Kardashian's front door and start knocking.
Well, technically, you can go up and knock on someone's door. You just can't barge in.
Or barge in or throw a brick through the window.
Well, that first of all, if anyone throws a brick through a window, that's on them.
I mean, she does have a reasonable expectation to privacy. I mean, it's not even a celebrity thing. I mean, it's a human being thing.
But part of her Instagram story or post says a new level of low, monetizing off of our nightmare. Really savagely uncool when I actually didn't leave his side. Shame on you. Are you kidding me? After your family was on the side of OJ and doing all that stuff?
I think that was that before she was born? Oh no! They were just
they were kids.
They were just toddlers when that happened.
That was all paparazzi, though.
Again, they understand. I think they understand how this beast works. More than you think they do, and they benefit from it more than anybody else. It's not.
But I'm saying that's a pot calling the kettle black for them to say.
That's why I said that. She does have a reasonable expectation of privacy, and it's not cool to do that. However, they understand how this beast works, and they understand how to work it to their advantage better than most people in Hollywood, I think.
I agree. I don't know, but all right, we'll move on since you don't like when I break that rule.
It's choking me to death.
All right, let's move on to a story that I found interesting. Adele. So Adele stands by decision to cancel her Las Vegas shows. I think she has a residency down in Las Vegas for quote not being good enough. And she also said, "You can't buy me." First of all, that's a ton of BS.
So she doesn't. Well, which part?
You can't buy me? Are you kidding me?
I mean, I understand what she's trying to say. I understand the reason why she did it, because apparently she didn't feel like the backing band was good enough. She didn't feel like she had rehearsed enough. She didn't feel like her voice was good enough.
But you should have just stopped at the show was not good enough. It was not prepared enough. You can't buy me?
I think what she meant by that is you can't just hand me the money. I'm not a friggin' jukebox.
But she should have just stopped at saying, like, we weren't prepared enough. We didn't, whatever. You can't buy me, though, is a little much.
I mean, I stand by the decision, though, because when we were kids...
No. Wait, let me clear something up. If she doesn't feel she's good enough to perform, that's fine. But don't say you can't buy me. You're in the business of performing for money.
You're in the business of selling your own talents, so... By definition, people will buy you, even though that's kind of being pedantic.
No, but saying you can't buy me is a load of you know what.
It depends on the context in which she meant it. But think about it. When we were, I commend the decision, because think about it. When we were kids, when you were an entertainer and you had a Vegas residency, that was the last stop before Irrelevant.
No, it's not. Not today.
Not today, but when we were kids.
Well, yeah, it was much different.
When we were kids, if you were in Vegas, that means you were washed. You were 2 steps from being washed up.
That was like what's his name? Who's the one I'm thinking of? Newton.
Yeah, Wayne Newton.
Wayne Newton is always in Vegas doing a residency, and you're like, oh, well, it's kind of over.
But again, I mean, now it's not, because you're paying these artists that are still famous, still have a lot of stuff a lot of good work ahead of them. You're paying them exorbitant amounts of money to be at the top of their game every single night. And Adele, I think, took this seriously enough that's like, you guys are paying these kinds of prices, exorbitant prices, and you don't deserve anything less than my best.
And right. And again, that part I agree with, but don't say you can't buy me. That's insane. Because if she got the right price to do something, she would do it. That look at Justin Bieber. Did you see he canceled concerts because he had I forgot the name of the disease. It was
it's the facial paralysis.
Yeah, it was drooping one side of his face.
What kind of? Because it's not some kind of palsy. Let me look it up.
It wasn't Bell's palsy, was it?
No.
Because I can't remember. I'm trying to look it up right now. Ramsey Hunt.
Ramsey Hunt syndrome.
Ramsey Hunt syndrome, which basically
Thank you, Google.
Which basically droops the side of your face.
Yes, it's very similar to my symptoms of a stroke or to myasthenia gravis. But like I said, Vegas residencies mean a lot more than
Today.
they used to when we were kids. Because Aerosmith is getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, the reason they're getting paid so much money is because it's exclusivity. Like they have to be there.
But you're paying artists that still have a lot in the tank.
Well, who was it? Britney Spears did it at one point.
Yeah, and Britney Spears, I don't think is done making records because she said on multiple occasions she wants to get back to the studio. The studio, right?
I think so. Yeah, but she just got married and all this stuff, and basically,
Adele, I think is not necessarily an outlier in this case, but at least she's being honest with why, she's canceling the Las Vegas shows, because it would be worse to just say, "Oh, it's heat exhaustion."
Really?
Yeah.
Oh well, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm fine with her if she's not at her best, but don't say you can't be bought. Come on. All right, let's move on to a funny trend. So, teens in suits banned from cinemas over viral sensation, the hashtag gentle Minions Tik Tok trend.
So, for those of you who are blissfully unaware, another sequel to the Minions franchise, which originally started as Despicable Me, believe it or not.
Yes.
It's like it's Skylanders came out. Skylanders was originally a Spyro game. Now, if you ask any Skylanders fan who Spyro is, they look at you and they're like, "Huh?" But now people don't remember, the Despicable Me movies, but they remember the Minions. But the trend was that you would get a bunch of people in tuxedos and dress suits to watch a movie. Now, this was
I have the trend right here.
There are a bunch of different ways we could talk about this, and all of them just make me feel older and older and older and older.
Oh, this just makes me laugh because movie theater employees are throwing kids out just because they're wearing suits. That's why you're throwing people out?
Well, because they're wearing suits? Who cares?
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah, we do need to mention that apparently Mr. Beast started this out on TikTok because
I like Mr. Beast, by the way. I actually like his channel.
Thank God I really don't know who that is.
Oh, come on. You don't know who Mr. Beast is?
I know who he is by association through osmosis, but I've never actually seen one of his videos.
Nick, he's got 20 to 30 million subscribers on YouTube.
Which means what to me?
He's one of the highest trending.
I know his name. I know what he's about. I know he does these crazy stunt videos and he gives a lot of weight.
Well, they're not stunt.
That I know.
They're not stunt videos. By the way, you should actually like some of the videos because he's actually giving money away to people sometimes in need.
And I appreciate that. But you know what? Certain things are the domain of those that are much younger than I am. So you know what? Go.
I don't know.
Have fun.
By the way, the movie opened at $128 million in the U.S. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's really fun. It's really funny that people would say that, oh, cinema's dead now because of COVID, when Spider-Man made over $1 billion.
Well,
Top Gun just made $1 billion.
Those are determined franchises, though. That's a little different.
Top Gun is technically a franchise, but it's not based on something.
No, but Nick, when you have a determined franchise, people are going to go out to the movie theaters and watch it. A lot of the movies now you're seeing going directly to stream.
Which, you know what? If we want more movie theaters, this is what, but it's a simple equation. Make a good movie and people will go see it.
Well, that's the obvious duh that I was going to say. But so as of the writing of this article, the hashtag has garnered over 4.4 million views. By the way, showing videos of teens dressed in suits arriving in large groups while imitating Felonious Gru, the supervillain in the Minions series. It's kind of funny, actually. See, you know what? Now I'm tempted to go to a theater and dress up in a suit and do this.
You know what? I can't do it with you. They started banning because they were being loud and annoying during screenings.
Stop.
Which is, again, what are you talking about? Oh, stop.
People yell and scream in movie theaters all the time.
And they're annoying when they do it at a part that you can cheer. You can cheer, but don't yell or scream during the movie.
Nick, the characters and the Minions, all they do is yell and scream. That's all they do.
And that's why it's annoying. But
okay, then blame the movie creator. Don't blame the kids or the teens walking in. I hate to say this, but I'm on the side of the teens here.
Maybe he'll put you in his next video then.
What, Mr. Beast? I would kill to be in a Mr. Beast video. Are you kidding? If I can get our network on a Mr. Beast video, we would grow in seconds.
Oh, I could just imagine. In fact, I don't know if I want to imagine that.
What, growing or being on a Mr. Beast video?
I wouldn't be. I can't even picture that much growth.
I'm telling you, if we hit a Mr. Beast video and they put our social media on any part of that video, we would grow. And he said follow, we would hit millions within the next few days.
Keep your fingers crossed. Moving on.
All right. Speaking of weird stories, and we'll try to get through these quickly. Man accused of taking $10,000 replica, saying he was testing Disney World.
So what $10,000 replica is it? It
was a replica of R2-D2.
Oh, so he stole it from Galaxy's Edge?
So it says a Florida man wheeled away a $10,000 replica of R2-D2 and claimed he was testing Disney World security when caught.
Yeah.
According to the deputies, the 44-year-old Kissimmee, which is in Florida, resident, was discovered acting suspiciously in the lobby of the Swan Reserve Hotel on May 31st. The hotel is owned and operated by Marriott, but is located on the grounds of the Disney World Resort. When hotel security approached the man, he was allegedly, as ads pop up, allegedly pushing a cart containing the Star Wars droid and wearing a Disney name tag with the name David on it. He nonetheless appeared lost, and sheriff's deputies were called to the scene.
Is his name David?
I don't know. It says the man told them he was a Disney World employee but couldn't locate the employee locker rooms, leading them on a wander around the boardwalk area until he was eventually asked to show them the ID in his wallet. No such employee was found in Disney records.
I mean, I appreciate the hustle. I really do. Round of applause, because you actually thought you were going to get away with it.
It says he's facing a number of charges, including grand theft, scheme to defraud, I can't even say that, of a structure.
Burglary.
Yeah, thank you. Tampering with a coin operated machine and obstruction by false information. So he's pretty much fucked.
Yeah, pretty much.
I really? A replica? If you're going to steal something, not that I'm advocating for stealing, but if you're going to steal something, you got to steal the real thing, not the replica.
Maybe.
I mean, a replica? $10,000, first of all, for a replica?
I mean, you're not gonna break into the Lucasfilm archives.
No.
And actually take the original the original puppet they used to stick Kenny Baker in.
But I'm saying if you're going to be stupid, you might as well be stupid and steal the real thing. Just saying.
Like an Ocean's 11 heist.
All right. A few more dumb stories because these just made my day. And Sarah pulled this one. I give her credit for this one too. So an entitled mother insists that I share my Nintendo Switch with her child on my flight. Now, the person she's talking about is a random person that's near the child. No, I'm saying the person that the mother is asking to share is a random person who has a Nintendo Switch.
So let me get this straight. There was a random person playing a Nintendo Switch on a flight.
Yes.
And a mother said, you have to share that with my son.
Because apparently he had nothing to do on this flight.
And whose fucking fault is that, lady?
So it says, I was sitting in a window seat next to two lovely women, and directly horizontal from us was an empty seat, a mom and her son. This is from a Redditor. It was not long before the mother unbuckled while the plane was taking off and moved closer. Wait a minute. I just wanted to know if there was any way that my son could use that game for a little while. Understandably, the author did not feel comfortable with sharing her Nintendo with the kid. She didn't know, and more so, she brought it for herself. This is very odd. This is odd.
So I would probably end up doing it anyway because I'm kind of a coward like that. But
I wouldn't. Are you kidding me?
I mean, I still kind of bristle at it because look, you can't go asking people. You can't go asking complete strangers. It's like in a restaurant. You pass by tables that have people with half-eaten food in it. You don't offer to eat people's uneaten food.
Yeah, that's disgusting. First of all, I wouldn't share food with anybody, but
take it from somebody who's been on a lot of long car rides when I was a kid.
Oh my God!
Make sure you bring enough stuff to keep you entertained.
Wait a minute. Nintendo Switches start at $299.
Well, the expensive ones do. The OLED
Holy
ones do.
Crap!
The OLED ones do, but those are the expensive models.
Would I rather pay a mortgage on a house or buy a Nintendo Switch?
Yeah, and what if the kid broke it? You know what? And then you'd be out $300.
And the problem is, it's your word versus theirs.
But I'm sorry, but when I was a kid, and I'm dating myself here, but one of us wanted to play Game Boy, we had to share it.
Damn! Wow, Sarah's got the prices here. So, is that an OLED? Is that how that's pronounced?
OLED is $349, and the Switch Lite is $199.
Jesus. God, I remember when I'm gonna make us both feel old. I remember when Nintendos were like what? They were like $50 or $70.
What do you mean, the games themselves or the consoles?
The consoles.
Well, you used to buy the consoles when they were a little bit further out. Because if you buy them when they're brand new, of course.
Well, I bought Nintendos. Because I liked N64s. I was a classic gamer, but I don't play video games anymore.
I think I had a Game Boy when I was growing up. My brother had one because again we would share, but just not all the time.
I'll make you feel old. I had a GameCube and I had a Dreamcast. You know what?
And we had to share. If we were bringing it, we had to share.
Top gamers for the Switch range between $49 and $69.
Yeah, $49 and $69.
Shit. That's
$75 depending on where you buy them. Thank you very much, GameStop.
GameStop's going out of business too.
That's neither here nor there. But the point is, I'm not sharing something with somebody I'm not related to,
especially
I don't know personally.
Wait, especially with COVID right now, I don't know who's what.
I don't want your germy hands all over my stuff. Ugh.
It's bad enough before COVID. I didn't want people touching my stuff on an airplane.
Please, I'm a hypochondriac as it is.
Yeah, forget it. Nick would just be like, F this. I'm not letting you touch my stuff.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to open up the door and just jump out.
Don't say that. Yeah, Sarah said the same thing.
Yeah,
Nick
what if
said.
the kid breaks something on it too? Exactly.
Again,
expensive.
And again, people say it's your word versus theirs.
And I've seen kids bring the Switches out, and even though it's technically a handheld, I have one. I don't bring it out anywhere.
No, you know what's pathetic? I now see iPads.
I don't want to damage the damn thing.
I see iPads, tablets, and devices coming out, and these are expensive. First of all, like and kids are just like running up and down the airplanes and the trains.
Yeah.
And
grubby little hands.
And I'm just like, ugh.
God.
But all right, a few more quick stories, and I saved this one for last, and I didn't give Nick much info about it because I knew he would cringe. A man caught putting semen in a woman's drink causes uproar on Chinese social media.
Now you're wrong about that one because I did read the story before you brought it up. So apparently this was a Chinese a lab, and one of the lab assistants was, I guess, thought it'd be cute if he did that.
Cute.
I mean, it's sexual harassment.
I don't know if it's sexual harassment. It's just disgusting.
Other than it being disgusting, it's also sexual harassment. I mean, I understand. You know what? No. I'm not even going to say I understand. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
What is there to understand? It's disgusting. It's gross. Why are you putting semen in a woman's drink?
I don't know.
I mean, so it says the revelation reportedly came after some students installed a security camera to investigate why there were dirty things in their cups. Yeah, dirty things.
Oh, God.
The cups also appeared to have been moved when they were not around. The camera caught the man putting semen into the students' drinks. Chinese news outlets did not specify whether he was, okay, I'm not reading that, doing a certain thing in the lab.
First of all, how are you confident enough? How big of an asshole are you to think that's some kind of power? What are you, sick bastard?
Well, apparently they're trying to say he might have been doing something in the lab, but I would prefer not to think about that. I don't know how to react to this.
We gotta cut this off before I start throwing up.
Well, it says this is not the first time a man has made headlines in China for putting semen into a woman's drink. In 2014, a how do you say that? Zhejiang employee repeatedly injected semen into his colleague's drink, resulting in a 3-day detention.
Round them all up and give them a sponsorship for non-dairy coffee creamer. What can I tell you?
Ugh.
For sick bastards and perverts everywhere.
All right, let's finish on a non-disgusting story. Okay.
Exactly.
Famous Dodgers peanut vendor banned from throwing peanuts over safety concerns.
Hey, man, I know that the Dodgers have been playing well. I mean, why do you have to take it personally if they're not playing well?
But banning a peanut vendor who's been doing this for a very long time and famous.
He's been throwing peanuts as part of an act?
No. He's a peanut vendor at the stadium. Let me see if I could say. It says the days of Dodgers fans getting nuts thrown in their faces, ha ha ha, TMZ, is long gone. Famous vendor Roger Owens has been banned from his traditional peanut bag tossing routine, with officials deeming the practice too dangerous. He's 79 years old, first of all.
I think I understand their reasoning.
Wait, but it says who's famous for his theatrics when delivering a bag of nuts to fans at Dodger Stadium for decades, claims he's been told by his bosses to refrain from the signature delivery while walking the aisles of the park. The reason, Levi Restaurants, which is the charge of concessions at the stadium, believes Owens' peanut pitching is a safety concern for spectators.
I understand. I mean, I understand the concern, but you know what? There's got to be a better way to fix it. There's got to be a better way, that you can pass out peanuts.
Oh, Sarah pointed this out, and I was about to get to this as well. Apparently, there were similar peanut throwing bans in 1976 and 1985, but were later rescinded after the fans got pissed.
Which, of course, they will again.
I mean, if the man's been... Okay, so it says he's been doing it for 59 years. 59 years! Oh, it's Alex just said there's literally a place where you can get hit with a ball, but you can't get peanuts thrown at you. Yeah, that's a good point. Bravo.
Like you're hit in the face with a baseball, but peanuts, that's a step too far.
Well, the one difference is, though, now that you when we used to go to games, and again, I sound like the old fart who's been doing this for 20 years. We used to go to games where there was no netting at all, and you could get hit with any foul ball.
Watch for fly balls. That's always the sign you would see at Yankee Stadium.
But they still have it, even though
they still have it, even though there's a net there.
By the way, and I always thought it was dumb. There's a video on YouTube, and if you go look it up, it's at Arizona's ballpark.
Chase
Field, and I went there. It's a nice ballpark, by the way. They're showing these young teenage girls who are all on their cell phones, and the sign is literally in front of them where it says, "Don't be on your phone. Danger, foul balls coming."
I mean, people don't pay attention at baseball games.
And the funny part is,
people have short attention spans nowadays anyway.
And the funny part is, the announcers who are calling the game are literally making fun of these younger girls on their cell phones as they're texting and not caring. And it was really funny, actually. Though it's on YouTube if you go look it up.
People have short attention spans already as it is. So you don't want to. They're not going to be if they're not going to be looking. You don't want them to get hit with a peanut or a baseball or anything else.
And by the way, this vendor was also.
Why are you throwing peanuts? What is this? A stadium full of elephants?
But the funny part is, he's so famous that he was on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson,
which shows you how long it's been.
Well, 59 years.
Yeah.
And apparently the decision is most likely to prevent a lawsuit in a case an unsuspecting fan gets hit with an errant toss.
Exactly.
But
the Dodgers are just covering their asses.
But it says apparently the Dodgers 2022 ticket agreement seems to cover the team's ass in that event, though. So then why are you stopping it?
Yep.
Well, I guess that just about does it for this episode, Nick.
Yeah, I guess it does. So, yeah, make sure you follow us on Twitter at ETB Network for the network itself. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and TikTok at Beyond the Bench 1. And make sure that you like and subscribe to our YouTube page.
YouTube.com/ETB Network. Go subscribe. Go hit the red button. If you don't, what's wrong with you?
He's going to come to your house and scold you a couple times.
Yeah, I promise, though, I won't put semen in your drinks, though.
Oh, God, no, stop it.
No, I said I wouldn't. That's disgusting. But my point is, just make sure you follow us. And also, this episode is presented by Knack Bags. Even though this is one of their other products, I like it. I use it. Make sure you go check out their products at knackbags.com. And you can get free shipping if you go under our codes and use them. And also, they have a new product, the Knack Sling Bag. Make sure you go get that as well.
Indeed. So, for my venerable co-host, Mr. Nick Morgasen, I'm Nick Fodera, and I'm saying good night, everybody. See you back on the bench.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week for episode 38.